What is up, Hive Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about intermittent fasting and starvation. Is intermittent fasting starvation? This is an intermittent fasting pushback that I've heard so many times used loosely in conversation that when you're fasting, you're simply starving. And that is simply not true, and I'm going to break down why in this video. Stay tuned. First, before we start, this video is brought to you by yours truly, Fledge Fitness and the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. If you haven't gotten yours yet, what are you waiting for? With the aluminum handle and swivel design for maximum speed, you can't go wrong with the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. Only $16.50. You can click on the link down in the description box below or the link on the top right-hand corner of this video. And of course, as always, guys, thank you for your support. Now let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Now, starvation and intermittent fasting, they're one and the same, or that's what many would have you believe, especially those who push up against intermittent fasting. They'll loosely say, you're starving yourself. What are you talking about, intermittent fasting? You're starving yourself. Oh, you want me to starve myself? I'm not gonna starve myself. So this is the thing, people are misled to believe that starvation simply means not eating. And that isn't true. Now, the actual definition of starvation is suffering or death caused by hunger. Now, intermittent fasting is not causing death based off of hunger. And suffering, what's the measurement of suffering? When you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, there's resistance there and that bothers you, but you know that there's a positive outcome. When you're doing cardio, there's pain and resistance there, but you know that you're improving your cardiovascular system and you're burning calories. So anything that's good, there's going to be resistance. Does that mean you're suffering? No, I wouldn't say so. And even so, if you want to base it off of that, when you get used to the process, it becomes very, very easy to do. So at that point, you're not even suffering. So that's starvation. If you take the definition of starvation, it does not fit with intermittent fasting. So if anyone says intermittent fasting is starvation, they are wrong. Now let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And this is a stretch. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're not talking about starvation, but they're actually just talking about starvation mode. Let's say it's someone who knows about diet and nutrition. He's not going to just loosely say that intermittent fasting is starvation without actually meaning starvation mode. And it's different. Starvation is suffering or death caused by hunger, but starvation mode is the metabolism and the body's ability to burn energy and burn calories being halted or being slowed down drastically because you are in starvation mode. But here's the major thing that people have to understand. Not eating is not what causes your body to go into this starvation mode. And it isn't even really starvation mode. Starvation mode is such a loose term for what actually goes on. Is your body going into something called adaptive thermogenesis, which is when your body is just starting to adapt to the current calorie intake. That's why it's called adaptive thermogenesis. Thermogenesis being your metabolism burning and adaptive being adapting. But that's the issue there. It isn't adapting to meal frequency, it's adapting to calorie intake. You can do 20 hours of fasting every single day and eat one meal that puts you at a caloric surplus and you are nowhere near being in starvation mode or adaptive thermogenesis. You see, intermittent fasting is not the catalyst for adaptive thermogenesis or starvation mode. Calorie intake is what can determine going into this adaptive thermogenesis. So you're probably asking yourself now, why does this happen? Now, if you want to lose weight, you have to be at a caloric deficit. You can use intermittent fasting to help you do that and also target body fat, but you still have to be at a caloric deficit. Now, the reason that you go into this adaptive thermogenesis, or the reason that you hit a body set point, and the reason why that they have a theory for a body set point, is because depending on how you grew up, how much you were eating, how comfortable you were with the amount of calories that you took in, how easy it was for you to realize that you're satiated, overeating or undereating creates a set point over time where your body just wants to be at a specific body weight. That's the theory of the body set point. It wants to keep you at a specific weight. That's why if you're prone to being at a certain weight, if you're trying to lose weight and you see that you're gaining weight, you tend to gain weight right back to that spot. You don't really supersede the weight, but you also see that it's very difficult for you to lose the weight. And this is simple. When you reduce calories, your basal metabolic rate goes down because less energy is needed because you have less calories, you weigh less, your body weighs less, and then your body tends to give you signals that creates less NEAT energy expenditure, which is the non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which you tend to be a little bit more tired. You decide to not go see your grandmother or your parents because you're tired. You might just lay down in the couch. You might just fall asleep. You might end up taking multiple naps. Your body starts to do things to prevent you from expending energy. So it's conserving the energy that you already have. Thus, the amount of calories that you can take in starts to reduce because you are not burning as much per day, and this compounds over time and it becomes hundreds and hundreds of calories. So it's easy to see how this can happen, how we can fall into this body set point, how adaptive thermogenesis works against us because we lose weight. But that key element where people say, well, my metabolism has been broken because of starvation mode, because I was skipping meals for a week. No, first of all, adaptive thermogenesis is not going to activate that quickly. Second of all, skipping meals, as I mentioned, isn't the catalyst. It's reducing calories. And you still have to reduce calories no matter what to lose weight, which is the unfortunate truth. So you will always create this adaptive thermogenesis just because it has to happen. If not, you just will not be losing weight. So it's something that has to be attached to weight loss. Now you can combat it by doing things like making sure you're taking in more protein, because protein has a higher thermic effect than all the other macronutrients. You can really try to combat it by retaining as much muscle or building muscle over time, because muscle is the most metabolically active thing in your body and basically can be a big determining factor to your metabolic rate. So I know I broke all of that down just so you could understand that, but basically what I'm trying to say is that starvation in either form, either starvation on face value or starvation mode, is not intermittent fasting. And I read this paper once that said the difference between starvation and fasting is choice. One is you choose to do it. The other one is you have no choice. You just cannot eat. So that's starvation. But when you're fasting, that's fasting because you chose not to eat. You cannot eat, you have no access to food, or you can't find food, and fasting is you chose not to eat. That is completely wrong. It might sound clever, but it's wrong. You are not starving because you are fasting. You are not going into starvation mode because you are fasting. All of it is tied to your calorie intake. Thank you for watching the video, guys. And of course, I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon, and I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And of course, as always, guys, I'll see you on Sunday for another FAQ. Peace!